25, 40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They block the kick!
Hey everybody, this is the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, taking the reins here for the first time ever, Camryn Justice, and with me, as always, Browns insider, Jeremy Powell. Jeremy.
Camryn, what is up? Great job for your first time as the official host of the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast. I'm pumped. 9-3, Ravens coming. Let's get into it.
Thank you, Jeremy. And of course, the guy who usually leads us through these things, Chase Smith. Chase, I know you were nervous about this game. How are you feeling now? It's all over. Browns got the win.
I have a full plate of crow in front of me. I thought it was going to be Titans double-digit win. I could not be more proud to be wrong. I'm so pumped. I've some thoughts I can't wait to share today, Camryn. So let's get to it.
Well, it's going to be a fun one. Not just saying that because I'm the host now, but it's just going to be fun overall. But what would a game recap episode be without Jeremy bringing the heat? So let's get things started. It's 5 hot minutes with Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, go.
Yeah, so how about that? You know, Baker Mayfield, the much maligned quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, coming out throwing 4 touchdowns in the first half. After all week long, he heard that he was the liability. He was holding the Browns back. I even saw somebody say Baker Mayfield has done less with more than any quarterback in NFL history, saying that the Browns have all these weapons and Baker can't live up to it. You know, I've been as tough on Baker as anyone. Chase had loved Baker from the beginning. I was just up and down on him. I've been hot and cold on him, but Baker Mayfield proved everybody wrong. He's got the Cleveland Browns at 9-3 Monday night, the biggest game in the last 20 years for the Cleveland Browns, and we owe a lot of that to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski. What do they say the most important relationship in all sports is the head coach and the quarterback in the NFL? And right now, it looks like Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski are on the same page, and the Cleveland Browns have hit a home run. Your Cleveland Browns, 9-3 in the midst of the playoffs, 97% chance, according to ESPN, that the Cleveland Browns go to the playoffs. And we owe that to Baker Mayfield. Yes, we had the best running back group in the league. Yes, we have an incredible coach. Yes, the game plan was awesome. Yes, our offensive line is incredible. But that was the game Baker Mayfield won for the Cleveland Browns. We talked about it in the preview show that the Browns would have to jump out early and try to take the air out of the ball. Guess what? They jumped out early, but they didn't take the air out of the ball. They kept their foot on the Titans' throats and through that whole first half. The Titans were like a punch-drunk boxer, had no idea what happened. They looked up at the clock, and it was 38-7 as time expired in the first half. You could not have scripted a more impressive game for Baker Mayfield. It's almost like it wasn't real. I was watching the game thinking, can this be real? And when he hit Peoples-Jones on the 75-yard touchdown, it felt to me Cincinnati game, Baker's rookie year. Baker had it figured out. He had the Titans figured out on the road against one of the best coaches in the league, against one of the best defenses in the league, one of the toughest defenses in the league, one of the toughest teams in the league mentally and physically. And Baker Mayfield led your team down the field time and again. 4 touchdown passes first half. First time since Otto Graham. Scored on the first 5 drives of the game. In the biggest game, Baker Mayfield is a gamer. Baker Mayfield stepped up when the stakes were highest with the bright lights and all the eyes on Cleveland. The Twitter reactions were great. Yes, no, I didn't go on Twitter and see them. I saw screenshots on Facebook of some of the reactions of other players and media people from across the league. But Baker Mayfield is your franchise quarterback. Kevin Stefanski is your coach, and the Cleveland Browns have figured it out. And now it's 9-3 with the Ravens coming to town next Monday, a chance to put a nail in the Ravens' coffin and a chance to get one step closer to the Cleveland Browns' first playoff appearance since 2001. Let's go, Cleveland.
It feels good. It feels good. This is crazy. Who would have thought at this point the Browns would be 9-3? And Baker Mayfield, like you said, Jeremy, what a performance. That was arguably his best game of his career. Chase, what do you think?
I think Baker not only won the game for the Browns, but he won an extension for himself this coming off season. And I don't think he's given the front office much of a choice. If Andrew Berry does not extend Baker Mayfield, then he has lost that locker room, and every player that's fighting for this team this season. I think back to, and Camryn, you kind of started this train of thought with me on Twitter. I want to read a quote from your tweets. It says from JC Treader about Baker. This is what you tweeted, that he said he's a magnetic personality. Guys want to be around him. Guys want to follow him. And then my mind went to the Hugh Jackson quote before they drafted him. This is what Hugh Jackson said about Baker Mayfield. Yep, when they went to see him as pro day. I feel like he's a Pied Piper of Oklahoma football. When he walked into the building, he made this sound. He kind of went, hee hee. And all the players in the building started going, hee hee, hee hee. And here we go. Most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. When Baker threw that touchdown to the lineman Lamb, and they showed the replay of him celebrating, he looked around for Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he was excited that Kareem Hunt was there. But when he saw Baker, his eyes got big, and he was so excited that he caught that ball for Baker Mayfield, and Baker was just as happy for him. If they don't extend Baker Mayfield,
yeah, that's nice.
I mean, that's going to be a morale killer for not only people like Lamb, but for the receivers, for the linemen, for every single player that Baker inspires. You don't think they'd love to see him run down the sideline for like trying to block for trouble, whatever he's trying to do, or do this slick slide picture take for like they love to see their quarterback do this. And I don't think have a choice. They have to extend Baker just because, one, he's the best Browns quarterback. I don't want to say ever, but I mean, there's a statue of Otto Graham, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yes,
he has a long way to go for that, but we did not have a quarterback. It was the joke of the NFL. We have one. It's him. And they don't have a choice. If they don't extend him, I don't know what they're looking for, Camryn.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was just going to say, you know what, probably something we didn't give him enough credit for to Baker is, and we didn't give him enough, I don't want to say understanding, but the fact that he is on his fourth offensive coordinator, really, this short a time in the league, no, like we've talked about a million times, no real off season, another new system. But you know what? He grinded through it. He put his head down. He didn't say anything when he wasn't throwing touchdowns. He just did what was supposed to do. And then when it's time for him to make plays, he made plays. In reality, he's thrown 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Last interception was the OBJ interception when OBJ got hurt. That's his last interception. He's went five games, over a month. The first quarter of the Bengals game was the last pick he threw. He has been making the plays he needs to make. He's not been hurting us. And now when it was his time to step up and win the game, not just to be the game manager, he did it. He did it to perfection. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a coming of age for Baker Mayfield. I think going forward now, he knows his role in this offense, and I think it's going to be a beautiful marriage between him and Stefanski, hopefully for the next 10 or 15 years. I love it. I'm excited. I couldn't be more pumped. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
I know, I love the rant. Well, that's what Baker Mayfield, he said this week. He criticized himself. Baker Mayfield is probably one of the hardest critics of himself. He gets it from the outside, but he's the one that's reflecting internally. So when he makes those mistakes that people call out, he wants to make himself better. He wants to move past those. He keeps that chip on his shoulder. So, I mean, he said it this week that he's going to learn from his mistakes. He's always constantly trying to improve, but his main goal is to be a leader of this team. He wants to lead the guys around him and establish that culture that they have right now. And I think he's done a great job of it so far. And we really got to see, the epitome of what Baker Mayfield means to Cleveland and means to the Browns on Sunday with that performance. It was outstanding. Kudos to Baker Mayfield. What a game he had. And we'll talk more about his stats in just a second, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk Brown silver linings. We'll hand out our game balls, and later we'll discuss the blueprint for the playoffs. Yeah, we're talking playoffs, so stick around.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, the Roadman Kenny Rhoda. Join me and Dennis Maniloff on the Next Man Up podcast as we look at all the teams in the Buckeye State, the Browns, the Indians, the Cavaliers, the Buckeyes, and whatever's happening, we'll be talking about it here on the Next Man Up podcast.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Using a narrative storytelling approach, the Hyman podcast was created to start conversations that need to be human. Week by week, I'll break down walls and barriers and make people wildly uncomfortable, all the while giving a voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. Consider this your personal invitation to be part of that conversation.
All right, we're back. So let's take a look at how this game against the Titans played out. The Cleveland Browns took down the Tennessee Titans 41-35. They racked up the most points in a half in franchise history during their explosive first quarter, putting up 38 points on the board. Baker Mayfield, what a game he had. 25 for 33, 334 yards, 4 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, like Jeremy said earlier, threw those 4 touchdown passes in the first half, making him the first Browns quarterback to throw 4 touchdowns in a half since Otto Graham did it in 1951. It's been a long time coming. Baker Mayfield also had a 6-yard toe-tapping reception, proving to the world that he also has hands. Guys, that was insane. Nick Chubb, 18 carries, 80 yards and a touchdown. Chubb had himself a 26-yard reception as well. He hit 500 career receiving yards on Sunday. Kareem Hunt, 14 carries, 33 yards, 3 receptions for 24 yards. Not exactly the run game I thought would be established, but they got the job done in the air, and that's what matters. Jarvis Landry, 8 catches, 62 yards, 1 phenomenal toe-tapping catch in the end zone for a touchdown, his 2nd straight game in the end zone. And, of course, the Browns' obvious QB2. He completed his 3rd pass in the end, 3rd pass of the season. This time he found Baker Mayfield, that toe tap catch on the sidelines. Jarvis Landry is now 3 for 3 passing on the season. He's thrown for 62 yards and a touchdown so far. And I have to note, my friend Hayden Grove so kindly pointed out that Jarvis Landry leads the league with a perfect 158.3 QB rating. You love to see it. The Browns are 9-3. They won the most important game in arguably 18 years when they beat the Falcons way back when to make the playoffs.
2001.
Segment should be a little bit easier in the weeks before, guys. So let's get into it. Let's look at the silver linings in this Browns win over the Tennessee Titans. There's a lot of them. Jeremy, what's your silver lining?
You know, you're right. There's so many different things you could go with. And I think I'm going to go a little bit out of the box here. I just want the offensive line. Baker had so much time to throw, and some of those plays took a little bit of time to develop. The double move by Peoples-Jones for the touchdown. It's just, you know, it's so refreshing to see Baker completely clean after the game. I don't remember him taking a hit in the pocket. Just the offensive line, again, supposed to be the strength of the team and actually has lived up to it. Wills, Conklin, the additions have been excellent. Wyatt Teller coming out of nowhere to be one of the best guards in the league. And then the steady Joel Petonio and JC Treader. Just an awesome group and just an awesome game by that group against a tough defensive front.
All right, Chase, I'm sure you have a lot to choose from. What is the biggest silver lining for you coming out of that big win that you weren't sure was going to happen?
I'll start with our coaching staff. I think Kevin Stefanski coach circles around variable. I think our players are ready to play. And like Jeremy mentioned earlier, the first half could not have gone better for the Browns. But there were things that I saw that didn't matter about play calling or like scripted plays. The Titans run disciplined. They were sloppy. They had, I know the Browns ended up having more penalties, but I felt like the Titans had a lot of bad penalties at a lot of bad times. And they're showing replays of like tomahawking Teller's arm and stepping on him, just things that undisciplined, angry teams do that aren't really good at football. And the Browns, again, were able to kind of withstand that. And, you know, I think it's obvious that their game plan changed in the second half, which we can talk about that at some point. But I just think this spoke volumes to the team's strategy, Stefanski's play calling, obviously, and how he prepares these guys who very easily could be getting a big head. 8-3. That's all you heard about. 8-3 Browns. They came in, and you see it on Twitter. If you're on like 1-0, hey, 1-0, hey, 1-0. Higgins, Jarvis, they retweeted Kobe's, video of, Hey, Kobe, you're up 2-0. How do you think? Like,
so what?
He's like, so what? Job's not done. And so to see the players kind of adopt this 1-0 mentality, and I I just think that it starts from the top down. And so I think that was a huge takeaway from me. The silver lining that, hey, like Stefanski does belong in the top conversation of coaches. I don't, maybe not top 3, but I think top 10, 7 for sure. Like he has to be at least mentioned for the job he's done. I know it's a small sample size, but compared to like our history and how, like whether it's hard for coaches here or the media or not media withstanding, of course, Camryn, you're brilliant, but just like the stereotypical Cleveland media you hear, or whatever the cause, like there hasn't been a coach to stick around or perform and produce results. And Stefanski, every measure, whether it's efficiency, whether it's quarterback play, whether it's establishing the run, he's checking all those boxes. He's hitting all of these benchmarks. And, I think this was a huge litmus test. And I think that's a huge takeaway. I mean, it's, hey, we have the right combination.
Chase, can I add something to that too? And it's just that demeanor. It's so hard. I know as a coach and just coaching middle school and youth kids, it's so hard. Like I tell myself all the time, I'm going to be stone cold cool on the sideline, like Jim Tressel, and it's so hard to do. But if you see Stefanski, he's always keeps his cool. You remember last year, all we talked about how the Browns couldn't get the plays in and it be constantly rushing to the line with like 1 second on the clock. Do you remember any of that this year? Nothing. Do you? I don't remember the Browns being close to the clock on almost any occasion. The plays get in smoothly. Stefanski's 2 steps ahead every single time. It's just he's intelligent, he's calm, he's cool. If you look on that play to Donovan Peoples-Jones, where Donovan Peoples-Jones had the incredible move, the double move to get open, did you notice the multiple? There sometimes you just think motion is window dressing, right? We think they're just trying to screw with them. What the Browns did was they had multiple motions. They motioned a tight end back to the fullback, then back to his spot, then another tight end back, and then to the fullback on the other side, because they were trying to get the safety to come up. So they knew they'd have single high. The second motion got the safety to come up at the top. So it's just little game planning stuff like that. And it's always smooth. And same thing I was gonna say, that play was written up for Kadero Hodge. So Donovan Peoples-Jones hadn't even repped that all week, Stefanski said. And yet a young player, the Browns are so well prepared in their meeting rooms, in their individual groups, as an offense, that a guy who did not even rep the play all week in practice, who's a rookie, by the way, was able to come in, run a perfect route, know exactly what to do on the play, and they score a 75-yard touchdown on it. That speaks to coaching. That speaks to preparation. In the past, so many times the Browns were a laughing stock of the league. Now the Browns might be the most prepared team with the most intelligent coach, most intelligent front office, and obvious plan that they're sticking to, and it's incredible. And you're right, Chase, I know I just hijacked your silver lining, but you're right, that is a beautiful silver lining.
And to Jeremy's point, I mean, the Kendall Land, the big guy touchdown that we were all so excited about, that was planned this week. That was put into the playbook this week. So this Browns team, they're doing a really good job at getting out there, getting the work in, putting the work in, dedicating themselves to learning the playbook and learning what they need to do going into Sunday. What else could you ask for, Chase?
They ran that same formation earlier in the game in the first quarter and got a penalty for, I think, illegal formation or movement. They handed it off then, which when I saw them doing it again, I was like, well, they just want to make sure they're getting it right and that they can do it. Well, no, it was a completely different play call, a handoff to the bomb. And that route was dirty. Oh my gosh, that route was dirty. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Camryn, what is your silver lining for that game?
Listen, there's a lot you guys touched on them. I was going to say the coaching, but we've discussed that. We know that that's a silver line of this Browns.
It's hard to go third, huh? It's hard.
That's a silver lining for the season. Let's be real about it. But I think my silver lining for Sunday's game was the confirmation that Rashard Higgins' chemistry with Baker Mayfield has not faltered. It is still fire. We love to see it. Baker Mayfield can find Rashard Higgins for anything. Rashard Higgins is a huge part of this offense. And it's just really good to see him out there and getting involved and getting involved in such important plays. That touchdown, that was big. And it was not just big for the Browns, but it was big for him and big for that chemistry with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has been establishing a chemistry with Kadero Hodge. Now that they're making some wide receiver changes. They're signing some players off, or they're claiming some players off of waivers. So you're trying to find where is Rashard Higgins going to fit into this offense. Well, right here it is. He laid it out, and I think he's such a big part of the Browns and this culture. And it's really nice to be able to see him play as the player that we love to see, and that fans have been rooting for him since day one, and you didn't see him last season, and it was a very frustrating situation where why is Rashard Higgins not out there? Why is he not playing? So it's really good anytime you see him out on the field, but especially in those big plays. So my silver lining is that Rashard Higgins is still the Hollywood we know and love, and that red carpet rollout will never get old. And Baker Mayfield slide to be the paparazzi. Is there anything smoother that you have ever? That's probably the smoothest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was beautiful.
It was incredible. Hey, can we
really
talk about
was.
the receivers really quick?
Yeah.
People mention that as an area of weakness. Oh, we're going to get Kenny Stills or whatever, a trade for whatever. And we signed someone today, and I saw someone say we got our
Marvin Hall.
person to take off the top off the defense.
Yeah.
But guys, I think we have good receivers. And I say that kind of without being a homer, but Donovan Peoples-Jones is a baller. Rashard Higgins is a baller, right? I mean, Jarvis Landry, when he's healthy, he is, his stats show he's like the most receptions, yards in 5 years, whatever, all those. So obviously he's a baller. Austin Hooper, he can catch. Harrison Bryant is not a barn burner, but that dude can block.
Right.
He can run routes, and I know you fumbled, but he can catch. Njoku likes to jump up and down when he catches. He likes to try to hurdle people. I don't know if he can catch, but he sure does like to jump. So, I don't understand why people think we have really bad receivers, guys. I'm happy with who we got.
And let me say this, Chase. I love Odell Beckham Jr., and I'm never going to be the one to say they're better without him. Really reminds me of 2018. It's like Donovan Peoples-Jones is like the Brashard receiver to go out and make plays. Higgins is Higgins. Landry is Landry, but it just feels like that, just to spread the ball around mentality. All these guys are stepping up and make plays. We've talked about this so many times. Higgins is one of those Cleveland Colt legends, but it's like all he does is make plays. When he gets an opportunity, he makes plays. Now, there's got to be something else. We've talked about it a lot because beginning of this year, he was inactive for a few games. Last year, he couldn't get on the field. So there's got to be something. I don't know whether he doesn't practice well, what it is. But all Rashard Higgins does is make plays. And he feels like he's the guy that's always in the right place at the right time. He's always open. He had one drop this game, but he rarely drops a pass. And you're right. You remember what Urban Meyer said, Chase, about Donovan Peoples-Jones? He said if he would have played at Ohio State, he would have been a top 5 draft pick. Mm-hmm. Ohio State tried to bring him in. He said that Michigan did not use him properly, that he's got all the talent in the world. You can see it. Yes, he's not a great kick returner because he doesn't have that fast twitch, but he's a big, long guy who can catch the ball and obviously runs good routes, and he's fast. And he looks like an NFL wide receiver. He looks like some of the great receivers. He's got the great size. So you're right. I just think, and you know what? And maybe next year they finally do find a way to get Odell Beckham Jr. back into this mix, and our receiving core is one of the best in the league. But you're right. I love the guys we have. I love how Baker spreads it around. I love that they are willing to make plays and do make plays. And I hope they continue to use Donovan Peoples-Jones, even if Hodge and those guys come back. And Kadero Hodge. We forgot about Kadero Hodge, who's also makes plays when he's given a shot. So you're right. It might be not the biggest name receiver room in the league, but it's definitely guys that make plays.
And that's fine with me. Camryn, it says we signed Marvin Hall via waivers from Detroit. Right. Is that more for depth because of injuries and stuff, or he's not going to see the field, right? I mean, we're going to roll with who we got.
He might see the field. I mean, he's the kind of player that could get in there. I mean, it's great for depth, but he's coming off a really big game. He just had his first 100+ yard game with the Lions. It was a surprise release by the Lions. I mean, they said that they wanted to focus on their younger receivers, but he's only 27 years old, and he's provided the Lions a nice deep threat. He's very fast, so I think that he could get in there. But yeah, I think mostly that move was for depth, but that's not to discredit him and say that he couldn't make the field and get out there. Especially, we don't know how long Taywan Taylor he's out with a neck injury, so he doesn't play a lot of snaps, but he's out there. And Kadero Hodge is still dealing with that hamstring injury, so maybe he plays. But it's nice to have that depth. I think it was a really good move by Andrew Berry.
Yeah, I'll say this: I'm fine with who we got, with rolling with who we got through the playoffs. I just love the receiver room. I think Landry is setting the tone for that. And I think these guys are following a leader who takes his job seriously, who takes his playbook seriously, who takes his film room seriously. And it's just, I don't know. I've said it before. I think Landry's been a huge part of this culture change, and I'm not going to, I'll die on that hill.
All right. So I think we've really recapped our silver linings. There was a lot of them there. And what's not to love about that game? A lot of good things came out of Sunday's game. And, as many good things that came out of that game, there might be even more players that are deserving of a game ball. So let's get it started. It's time to hand out some game balls. Jeremy, we're going to start with you. Who's getting your game ball today?
I'm going to another one. And I thought I was going to be kind of out of left field, but Kevin Stefanski actually pointed him out today in his press conference. Was BJ Goodson. He made the great 2-point conversion where he stoned Derrick Henry to kind of stop that momentum a little bit there. Coach said he is the emotional leader of the team. He said from the second he steps on the field, he's the guy that gets guys hyped. He's the guy that keeps guys in the game. We've given him a lot of stuff on this, saying maybe he's not, wasn't the greatest signing. Maybe he's not the greatest linebacker in the league. And he's not the greatest linebacker in the league, but I think he's a good middle linebacker. He's a good NFL player. And I think he had a really good game. And so my game ball goes to BJ Goodson.
All right. I love it. I love to see it. Chase, who's getting your game ball? No, normally you're last and you hit us with some oddball ones. What are you going to do right here smack dab in the middle? Who are you giving this game ball to?
I've been really hard on Coach Stefanski with his play calling, with the trickery, with the trying to be too cute. And granted, maybe that lineman touchdown pass was trying to be too cute. Maybe that Baker catch for first down was trying to be too cute. And so I'm not saying he still doesn't try too hard sometimes, but you can't overlook how he had this team prepared, how on offense we were clicking on all cylinders. And so my game ball is going to Coach Stefanski and the coaching staff. I've been hard on him, and they're still a little suspect, still a little sus, because if Baker doesn't make that toe catch, that's points off the board. If that lineman drops the ball, you're thinking, why the heck did we throw to a lineman? We have Chubb, Hunt, and you go down the list. I still think he has much more to lose than to game some of these play calls, but they work. So here we are. the Browns won. So Stefanski, game ball. Just don't be too cute. Just know who you are and what we got, and don't try to do anything more than that. I don't order, I don't go to a McDonald's and order a taco, right? I don't go to I don't go to Red Lobster and order, you know what I mean?
A chicken sandwich.
I know what they do, and I just feel like sometimes Stefanski might do that. But hey, alas, I game ball for this game. Good job, sir. I'm glad you're our coach. I want to say that I'm glad he's our coach. I think is the right hire. It's just, we have to say, hey, these things are alarming. It's a podcast. We have to say good and bad. And I've just seen the course of the season. Sometimes he makes these play calls trying to be too cute, and I'm afraid it's going to come back and bite us when we really don't want it to. And I'm just going to say game ball right now, Kevin Stefanski. That's what I'm going to do, Camryn. I'm going to let you enjoy us with whatever you want. So yeah.
I think that what happened here with you right in the middle is you took over what my game ball was going to be, and you took over my points. And so now I have to channel my inner Chase Smith, and I have to give my game ball to none other than the franchise quarterback of the Cleveland Browns,
That's right.
Baker Mayfield. Yeah. He's getting the game ball. How can you not give him the game ball? It was the game of his career, arguably. I mean, every pass he threw was a laser, just completely accurate. He took the criticisms from the week before, those easy touchdown passes that everybody was talking about, myself included, and he worked on those. His footwork looked great. His timing was phenomenal. He's getting really good at that hard count. Baker Mayfield takes all of these things that he needs to get better at, and the things that he hasn't been great at or faltered in a little bit at points, and he's really made himself into that guy that can do what you need him to do. And we saw him down the stretch of that Bengals game on that game-winning drive. And that's the moment where we saw that Baker Mayfield is capable of winning with his arm in a down to the wire game. And it was really big. But this one was different because it wasn't down to the wire. He came out hot. He stayed consistent. And like we talked about earlier, he has been flawless with his interception. He has not had an interception in 5 games. He hasn't thrown an interception in, I think, 156 passes. He's been phenomenal. And, Sunday against the Titans, that was a really big game. That was a statement game. And they knew it. and it could have gotten to him. It could have, struck a nerve and made him a little bit nervous and made him, have a little bit rough outing when he first came out, but he didn't let that get to him, and he came out hot. He found the receivers he needed to, spread the ball around perfectly. That second half wasn't great, not on him. That was, I think, the Titans realizing, oh, wow, we got to set this up. I think that's less on the Browns, more on the Titans, because they are a playoff caliber team. But that's the Baker Mayfield that everyone has really been waiting to see, to prove that he is that guy. And he's done it in spurts here and there, but Sunday was the real deal. Baker Mayfield, you get the game ball because that was solidifying. That was your game to set the precedent for what you can bring to the Browns for years to come. So Baker Mayfield gets my game ball. That leaves us with Jeremy's giving his game ball to BJ Goodson, Chase giving his to Kevin Stefanski. My game ball goes to Baker Mayfield. But we're going to take one more break. Then we'll get into what that playoff picture looks like for the Browns. Yes, we're talking about playoffs and how the AFC North may have just opened up a little bit for the Browns with a big loss to our rivals over in the state next to us. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up? This is Chase Smith with Press Play Podcast. I just wanted to remind you to check out our website, pressplaypodcast.com, to check out all of our other shows and hosts on the Press Play Podcast Network, from sports to life to books. Check it out. And you don't want to miss some of the shows we have coming to you in January. A lot of good things in development. And maybe you're thinking, hey, I've always wanted to host a podcast, or I would love to talk to you guys. We would love to hear from you. We're always on the lookout for new hosts and new shows. So email us. You can find that on our website as well. Again, pressplaypodcast.com to check us out and support us. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to the Orange is Orange and Browns podcast. Guys, the Browns are 9-3, and the playoff picture is looking a little more interesting now that a certain team just suffered their first loss of the season. This is crazy. But first, let's talk about some of the other teams we got to keep a lookout for. The Colts beat the Texans Sunday 26-20. They're second in the AFC South at 8-4. The Titans, the Browns just beat them. They're now 8-4, ahead of the Colts in the AFC South with the tiebreaker. The Raiders, even though they shouldn't have beat the Jets on Sunday, thanks Greg Williams, they're 7-5
right.
in the AFC West. That was insane. There are no words, but he got fired. So what do you expect? The Dolphins now, they beat the Bengals 19-7. They're sitting just under the Bills in second in the AFC South at 8-4. And the Ravens, who are 6-5, are taking on the Cowboys Tuesday night. They're not looking so great. Chase, I know you got some thoughts on that. But right now, the Browns hold the number one wild card spot. They've got a 97% chance of making the playoffs, like Jeremy just said. This is insane. But really, what we need to talk about, and I know that you guys are dying to talk about it too, is that game that just ended not too long ago. The Pittsburgh Steelers just suffered their first loss. They are no longer undefeated. They lost to none other than the Washington football team. Guys, you got to talk about this with me. Break it down.
Camryn, it's fun. Not only did they lose, but it looks like they may have lost Joe Hayden for a while. So now in the last 2 weeks, they've lost Wayne Dupree for the rest of the season, maybe Joe Hayden for the rest of the season. They'd already lost Devin Bush early in the year. The Steelers defense is getting a little bit beat up. So not only did they lose the game, they're getting a little bit beat up. The offense hasn't looked as smooth the last few weeks. Steelers fans will play it off, but I think it's a big deal to them that they lost this game. They lost to the Redskins. Redskins are still fighting for a playoff berth as well. So it wasn't like it was a team that was out of it that they lost to, someone that had something to play for. But I think it's a big deal. And then the Browns are only 2 games out. Look, the Steelers have a semi-tough schedule coming up. They still have to play the Colts. They still have to play us. There's a couple games in there the Steelers could lose. So we could have a shot on that Week 17 game to win the division. Who would have thunk that, right? Now we got to take care of our own. We've got to win our games starting this week with Ravens. And Stefanski would say the same thing. We're trying to win a game this week and then move on to the next week. But it does at least open up the possibility that the Week 17 matchup in Cleveland could be for an AFC North crown.
If we're going to talk about AFC North crown, we should just talk about just winning the AFC at this point. I mean, it's not like completely inconceivable. I said last week, if you listen, it was plus 1,800 last week. I don't know what the odds are now for the Browns with the AFC. Obviously, we have to, see what the Chiefs are going to do. But yeah, one of the things that surprised me, this was a game that if you cared about the comeback player of the year award, it was either Alex Smith or Ben Roethlisberger. I think Roethlisberger's only chance was to go undefeated to win it. But this pretty much sealed the deal for Alex Smith, going into Pittsburgh, beating an undefeated Steelers team. And I think the Washington football team was better than the record that when we played them. I mean, I think they had an incredible pass rush, and we only won that game. We only won that game because of Dwayne Haskins. If Alex Smith started that game, I think we would have lost. I really do. I'm just saying,
I don't know if I
he
agree.
gifted us so many possessions and balls. I think he had 4 picks. He was one shy of a Dahome, I think, which is a 5-pick game. I don't know if it's not an official title name for that. It's just,
I'll never use anything else now, though.
good. But yeah, you can only withstand so many injuries and do next man up so much. We
Right.
talked about that with the Browns injuries a couple times. You want to be peaking at the right time. And I don't know if the Steelers have peaked. I don't know if the Browns have peaked. You just want to be playing your best football in December. That's all I know. And you look at how the teams are made. I don't know if the Steelers, they struggle with short yardage gains. They struggle when they get, that's an issue. And I don't think the Browns at least have the blueprint for running and for being successful in running the ball. That's what you want to do in the playoffs. And I think the Browns, because that's our identity, we do feel good about our chances moving forward. The Steelers, I know it's a pass heavy league, but you got to be able to run and control the ball. And that's something that if I were a Steelers fan, thank God I'm not, but I would be concerned. I know you're 11-1, 10-1. I don't even know. I don't really care, but
11-1.
But I would be concerned. I would be, a little more worried than, oh, we're fine. We're 11-1, Camryn.
Yeah, I mean, that is their biggest downfall right now. They had 21 rushing yards tonight. So they can't establish, they have no run game to establish at this point. And like you said, to your point, peaking at the right time, I think that this has played out very, very nicely for the Browns. The Browns played the Washington football team at the best possible time for them. The football team is on the rise right now. They just beat the undefeated Steelers. And now they face the Steelers, and who knows? The Steelers' schedule is wide open for them to suffer a couple more losses, and maybe this is their downfall. This is where they start to decline. And so the Browns face them again at home at a really good time. What better time than the last game of the regular season? And that could have a lot of implications with it. So I think that loss tonight was not just a good time for Cleveland Browns fans to watch the Steelers lose to the Washington football team, but a really good, point to make moving into the rest of the season as the regular season starts to wrap up. That could be a really big key factor in how the Browns play out and how this AFC picture, the AFC North picture, looks at the end of this regular season. There's some players tonight tweeting during the game. Myles Garrett, Mac Wilson. Who did you say, Chase, that you saw?
Landry.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry had like the zip lip emoji with the party guy giving the eyes. Look, I felt crazy last week. Really saying,
bring all the smoke, baby. All the smoke. We want all the smoke.
And we're still a month away from that game too. So
I can't
imagine.
Chase, sorry, I forgot I said the Colts. They also have the Bills in Buffalo next week. So it's not an easy road for the Steelers. Yes, they have the Bengals mixed in, but they play the Bills and the Colts with the Bengals in between, and then us the last game. So at this point, who knows?
Look, if the Browns beat the brakes off the Ravens on Monday night, we go to New York for the Giants. We stay in New York for the Jets, and then we come home in the season against the Steelers. Guys, I'm getting really, 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 really excited. And you want to see an obnoxious Chase on this podcast. If we beat the Ravens, holy crap. I don't know what I'm going to do because Jeremy, we've said this before, man, like having a podcast is really hard when they're 0-16, right? Like it's really difficult, but when they're
the grind
14-3 or whatever, 13-3, like
it's a whole
like,
different thing.
Is this real life? Oh my gosh.
Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy every minute of it. Enjoy the whole thing. And I wish we could get like 80,000 doses of the COVID vaccine before Monday, right? To fill that dang stadium, but it's still going to be incredible. It's still fun. It's just, I can't imagine what the rating. Can you imagine what the ratings are going to be in Northeast Ohio Monday night for that game? It'll probably be a ratings record. The NFL is king anyway. I know you guys saw that game last Wednesday, got an 11.5, which is like double the NBA Finals. So the NFL is king. The NFL is what's that? I'm sorry.
I did everything I could to watch that game.
Right? Yeah. DirecTV wasn't showing it. I had to get the NBC app, all that stuff. And I did the same thing. And that's going to be Monday night. It's probably going to get a 50 share in the Cleveland market. I mean, I can't even imagine. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a blast. Fans there or not, whatever. It's a giant game. The Browns are ready. Look, the Browns got their swag back. And that's a confident team right now that's getting healthy at the right time, not to mention. Who knows when Denzel's going to be back, but that offense is healthy and rolling. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game, and I cannot wait.
That makes me want to give out one more silver lining is that, yeah, there's no fans in the stands right now, and that's unfortunate. But all of this building, this momentum building, this team chemistry building and these wins, can you imagine next season what the stadium is going to look like, what the Muni lot is going to look like? They've had a season of just staying at home and having to celebrate in the house and, on the back porch. But this is all building up to next season. No matter what happens this season, next season's going to be wild. It's a whole season built up of rowdy fans ready to cheer on their team that looks so different. That's my silver lining. I'm gonna take mine back from before.
Right. Incredible. It's going to be absolutely incredible. There's only been a couple of psychos that have been to every game and this year, but can you imagine? I mean, you're right. I was thinking about that the other day, actually, Camryn. Can you imagine just once this is all behind us and whatever has to be done to get us back to some level of normalcy happens? Can you just imagine the euphoric party that like the Muni lot will be for the home opener next year? It'll be like, and it's always a euphoric party anyway.
We may have
can you
to send
imagine
a crew to the Muni lot before the game
no doubt.
to get everyone's like.
Can you imagine after this year of no tailgating, no nothing, the Browns being good, if the season finishes with us in the playoffs, the fever pitch that will be down there will be a party of epic proportions. I can guarantee you. Yeah.
That is definitely something to look forward to. Well, I want to say thank you for sticking out here, listening to this whole podcast with me at the host for the first time. This was a lot of fun. I like this a lot. Chase, you do a much better job than me, but I'm coming for you. What?
No, I hope you do. It is a lot of fun. It's a different pressure when you have to like actually give opinions and say what you think and have analysis. I'm glad you're the professional is what I'm going to say. Cause it's nerve wracking.
You did a great job as me with you even had my game ball. So good job to you and Jeremy.
Game ball. I had your tweet. Just you keep doing your job and I'll keep co-signing on it.
I love it. Jeremy, great job as always. I want to thank everybody for listening. Honestly, this is such a fun podcast. I have a great time doing it. I know you guys have been doing it for a lot longer than I have, Jeremy and Chase, but it's great to be on here this season. If you haven't already, follow us on Twitter. Because what are you waiting for? I mean, Chase has been telling you for how long? We got to get to 5,000 followers. So make sure you follow us. Because what else are you doing on your time on Twitter? It's a cesspool sometimes, but Orange is the Orange and Browns podcast. We've got the good tweets. We got the good stuff and the good content. So make sure you follow us. Thank you for listening. Chase, any final thoughts?
As we have the preview show coming up near the end of this week. And I think we're going to have a couple promotions for followers to give some giveaways. So check out our Twitter. Make sure you follow along and play along whenever you see these giveaways pop out.
Jeremy, how about you?
Enjoy the ride. Don't get lost in looking ahead. Go week by week. Let's get another W Monday, and let's ride this thing all the way out. Go Browns.
I couldn't agree more. I have to get out of here and enjoy my Browns Victory Monday wine. It's a tradition. You guys know it. I've had my glass. I had a little bit. I got to go finish it off. So I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for having me on here as the host. It was a great time. Go Browns, 9-3.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Let's get it.
It's not